Remember that moment when you decided, I want to become an English teacher. I'm sure you were feeling excited. I'm sure you were feeling capable of doing that. This is the moment. I'm sure you have a favorite TV series. I'm sure you have a favorite movie. I know you know it in Spanish. Now watch it in English. When they do something they feel comfortable with, you can see smiles on their faces.
After 10 years of service and lots more to come, what would you like your students to take from you and your classes?
Love to the language. If I could convince my students to give it a chance to English and embrace it like in their lives, that's enough for me.
So you're in love with the English language.
I am.
Well, hi, thank you so much for being here, Teacher Victor. I am thrilled to talk to you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Now, Teacher Victor, you've been teaching for over a decade, right? How did you get started into teaching? What led you to this profession?
But it was all in high school when it happened. What I realized in that moment is that I wanted to use English for something, whatever it was, but English. I wasn't thinking about becoming a teacher myself. I had other options before becoming a teacher, until the moment I got to know the major I studied, and I said, let's give it a chance. I mean, let's give it a try. I have some teachers in my family. They don't teach languages, but they're teachers. So I said, like, well, it's a good career, so maybe I would like it, and definitely I loved it. So yeah, it was the way I decided. It was not because of teaching, but because of the language.
Okay, so you're in love with the English language.
I am.
And
Always been.
you were inspired by other teachers then.
Of course. Well, my aunts and uncles who are and were teachers, my own English teachers when I was a child, my parents, and that's something that I actually took as an inspiration, because my parents said that when I was a child, English was my favorite subject.
Wow.
At school. English was the only subject I really loved and enjoyed. So I remember it was my favorite.
Do you find yourself inspiring your students with maybe tips, tricks, things that worked for you when you were a student too?
Yes, of course. I always try to help them. And of course, I tell them, like, it's not the same. The things that worked for me maybe are not going to work for you, but this is what I did. I tried, for instance, I remember that the moment I finished my major, I was very I wasn't confident enough about my pronunciation back then. And I remember I tried really hard to change it, and worked. I really worked on it, using media, using videos, using series. I became an amateur actor because I was trying to repeat the same way the actors did in their scenes, the scenes that I took to practice. And I always recommend that to my students. Like, I'm sure you have a favorite TV series. I'm sure you have a favorite movie. I know you know it in Spanish. Now watch it in English and try to imitate the way they speak, like everything, the way they start, like, I don't know, speaking slowly, or the way they raise their volume, and try doing it. The way you pronounce, the way you speak, you will be more fluent, and you will feel more comfortable with it, more confident about your English.
I like how you're mixing new mediums with more traditional techniques, right? Like drilling. Do you feel that is a good balance to work with the traditional versus the newer tendencies?
I love balance. The traditional system, the traditional tools we had back then were useful back then. So maybe you cannot use completely those approaches or those methods, but you can take maybe the essence, maybe some ideas from them, and take them to the present. And it's something that it might help different people with different abilities and different strategies for learning.
Yeah, I love maybe finding ways of being more inclusive and working with different levels, maybe different mixed abilities, right? Or have you seen in your last couple of groups that you have students with mixed abilities, or do you feel everybody has pretty much the same levels and skills?
No, definitely they have different, there's a variety of skills my students have. You can see it in their faces because if they look like maybe confused with an activity or they take a little bit more time to do something, it's because maybe they didn't understand the instructions, they are not feeling comfortable with the way they are developing the activity, or it was not something that was actually appealing to them. But when they do something they feel comfortable with, you can see smiles on their faces. You can see like they're trying to solve the problem they have or to completing tasks they are meant to do, but they are enjoying it. And of course, you can focus you can pay attention to the way to the style of the activity. You can say like, okay, maybe just working with this worksheet is not enough for you because you consider it to be boring or you consider it to be not really useful for your learning. So maybe working with this digital tool, I can see that you are enjoying the challenge because you see, I try to use digital tools to work with vocabulary mainly. So they play these games to, I don't know, to connect words with their meanings, to match synonyms, to use different categories. I don't know. I try to do it differently. So my students, I can see that they enjoy doing this. They take their time. When they fail the third time, they have to start over. They take the challenge and they say like, I must be able to complete this. And I can see when the test arrives that that they had very good grades on the vocabulary section, or I can see that the use of the vocabulary in the classroom is better from the moment they started checking that unit.
It sounds like you've done a lot of learning in the past decade. You mentioned concept checking, instruction checking, the differentiated classroom and strategies, engagement. But was this something that you knew the first day, the first lesson? How did that first lesson go? Did you have all this knowledge, all of these tools in your toolkit?
Oh my, it was a long time ago. No, definitely not. It was completely different. I was uh, I was really nervous and I was thinking that it was too hard for me. I was feeling a bit overwhelmed because in college they teach you to okay, you can study these methodologies, you can study these approaches,
Yeah.
how you're gonna put your students to work among them, what kind of materials, how do you evaluate, but they never teach you how to deal with people, how to connect with your students. You never learn that from books. So my first group, I would say my first groups when back then, um, I was really nervous because of this interaction with students. I wasn't sure how far I could get to try to make them maybe not love English, but at least like it or be good friends with them, with the language. Because, sometimes we work with students that are not really into English. So I try to convince them with this argument like, okay, maybe you don't like English itself, but you like soccer, don't you? Have you ever watched a soccer match in English? Which, because it's difficult. I mean, in Spanish, it's it's a mess. So maybe you can try doing it in English, and you learn more vocabulary. You learn a new experience, or you may be able to compare the experience of a soccer match in Spanish and in English. Whatever it is, I try to make them try different ways to get closer to English.
Have you ever tried something that didn't work out?
Well, yeah, with literature, including some, I like including these e-readers in my classes. in my advanced classes mainly, or in my very beginners classes. So they can, in the beginners, they can start experience English with something adapted to them, but I mean, coming from literature. And in my advanced classes, I try to use it for them to practice with real reading materials. So there was this group which was not really familiar with reading or not used to it. Oh my, it was a mess. They were not working on with the reading at home. In during the activity in the classroom, they were not paying attention to the reading. They were not engaged. I was not able to make them get engaged in this, and I said like, okay, it's just the personality of the group. In this case, it didn't work. But I didn't give in, and because of most of my groups like it, like they like doing something different related to reading and of course listening with their recordings.
Well, I'll be a little bit vulnerable myself. When I started teaching, I tried project-based learning, and as a baby teacher, that didn't go as planned. I know that I needed to have better guidelines, provide more guidance on tasks, on roles. And the reason I mentioned this is because we talked about challenges, but I do know that you're proud of something that you do in regards of project work, right?
Yeah, it was.
Would you like to tell us a little bit more about it?
My favorite part of the semester or trimester or the way we're working with, my favorite part is always the cultural event. That's my thing. Whether it is Halloween, Christmas, St. Valentine's, I don't know. When it is the cultural event, I give my all for this event to happen. So when I was working in that time in a language center, and we were having a Christmas event. um, all of the language teachers were asked to prepare an activity with our groups. You know that, as you said, when we were baby teachers, we tried to do like exciting things for our students, maybe. Sometimes, unfortunately, when you have like some years in the field, you don't feel the same excitement about the cultural event. So I want to do something different, but I didn't know how. So going back to the language fair topic, they had to present a board game, and with this board game, they had to give a presentation with a cultural topic related to death and how different societies around the world celebrated death. So they designed a very entertaining board game for other students to come. They presented the topic, and then they asked them to play with this board game. They actually wore costumes, which was not really considered in the evaluation part of the activity. I never mentioned like you had to dress up as a particular, no, but they did because they were so engaged with the activity that they wanted to do it. They won the fair. Because it was like a contest. Some teachers were evaluating different aspects of the presentations and the board games. So my students won the first and the third place.
Oh, nice.
So I was really proud of them. They were really happy with their results. So I was really proud of my students, and it was for me really fruitful. It was my top experience on a cultural event.
Hi. While they take a quick break, it's time for today's top tips on sustainability. Now, my name is Cecilia Lemus-Hamer.
I'm Helen Allen, and we both work in the Professional Learning and Development team in Cambridge.
Today, we're going to talk about values. What do values have to do with sustainability, Helen?
If we want to achieve a more sustainable future, really we need people with empathy and compassion for each other, for all forms of life and for the planet itself, right? And that starts with kind of being aware of the world around us, the nature that's around us, experiencing it and appreciating it.
Can you give us an idea, like a practical idea of something that I can do to engage with values, with sustainability values in my lessons?
Okay, so if we think about that kind of, having awareness of and building appreciation for nature, you might run an activity in your classroom to help people to think about that. So I'm going to ask you, Cecilia, you're my guinea pig. I'd like you to think of your weekend or your week or the last time that you engaged with nature.
All
What
right.
did you see, hear, feel? How did it make you think?
So for me, the last time that I engaged with nature was yesterday morning. It was Sunday, so I went rowing and I saw lots of birds and I saw wildlife. I cycled to the rivers and I go through lots of green spaces and I saw lots of people walking their dogs and playing around. I heard the water, I heard the birds. I smelled the green, and it was a very nice day yesterday.
Fantastic. And how did you feel?
I felt really good. I felt happy to be outdoors and surrounded by nature, and from the river you see things from a very different angle.
Yeah, it's interesting because I've started walking to work and it takes me a bit longer, but it slows me down and I take in what's around me and I get that sense that I'm connected to other things. It's not just me doing my work in my room at home. So it is really nice. And it has an aspect of well-being to it as well. So these are the kind of activities which help us to pay attention to ourselves and how we operate within the world. And if someone can't remember the last time they've interacted with nature, it's a great point to encourage that engagement as well and point out things that people could do, like go to the park or take a walk or something like that as well.
And this activity that you just did with me, and that's one that helps us develop some sustainability skills. It's part of the set of activity cards that people can download for free, isn't it?
Absolutely, yes, that's right. And they're available on the website alongside the Sustainability Cambridge.
And the link is in the notes, the show notes. My top tip would be follow Helen's ideas and check out the activity cards and other ideas in the activity cards that you can use with your students.
I think that could be quite inspiring for teachers who are listening to your experience, because we know that today we're talking about global citizens, and you mentioned that November is an important date because we're in Mexico. Would you like to tell us what is celebrated in November?
Of course, we celebrate here Dia de Muertos, or Day of the Dead. It's a different tradition we have in Mexico, where we take our time to think about our deceased relatives or beloved ones. So it's a moment of unity with family, reflection, taking your time to dedicate these shrines for your deceased ones, and taking your time to continue thinking about them, and gathering with your family. I don't know, having dinner together, celebrating these the lives of the people who are no longer here. And that's why we decided to talk about death. Here in Mexico, we celebrate death this way. But maybe it's just a different tradition.
Yeah, different concepts, right?
Exactly, and that's why we chose that topic. And they decided to take different approaches about it.
I love it. And I'm sure that your hard work has been recognized and noticed. The reason I say this is because you are currently, you were a full-time teacher and you are now a coordinator, right?
I am. Thank you.
So congratulations.
Oh,
This
thank you so
is
much.
officially your first day as a coordinator. So
It
it's
is.
still a new experience, but what are you doing to prepare yourself for your new role?
It's something different, but it's something as enjoyable as teaching, because you deal with different things. I mean, I'm not stopping teaching. I will continue having classes, but now my main activities will be related to this administrative part of the experience of learning, teaching. So I'm really excited for this beginning, and yeah, I think it's a moment when I'm changing this season of my life.
Will you have to maybe train teachers, provide feedback? Is that something that you'll do in this new role?
I will. I will also observe classes to give some to take some advice from my teachers, and of course offer them some in exchange.
If you had to give a piece of advice, like your golden rule or your top tip, what would you tell these new teachers that you will be working with, or any new teacher that's listening to you right now?
Okay. In the beginning of the experience, it might feel frightening to be standing in front of a group of 30 people, 30 students who you don't know if they are going to be accepting you or accepting the class. So what you can do is remember that moment when you decided, I want to become an English teacher, and go back to that feeling. How did you feel? I'm sure you were feeling excited. I'm sure you were feeling like you were capable of doing that, or it was maybe your biggest dream to become a teacher. This is the moment. So now try to turn off all of those notifications of your brain telling you be afraid, be nervous. No, you should enjoy it. We don't know everything about teaching. We will never be able to do that. But even though if you have 10 years, 20 years of experience, there's always room for new knowledge, room for new experiences. So when you are starting, just try to enjoy it. Enjoy it. And the moment you get your first year, 5 years after, you will go back to that moment, and you will feel proud of all of the effort you put into doing that or giving that class. I think you will feel proud of yourself.
And you personally, after 10 years of service and lots more to come, what would you like your students to take from you and your classes?
Love to the language. I mean, if I could convince my students to give it a chance to English and embrace it, like in their lives, in their activities, that's enough for me. I mean, I don't want my students to be just getting high grades because of my subject. No, what I think, and I always tell them, like, the important thing here is that you can communicate. A language is a tool to communicate, and if you can understand a WhatsApp message in English, or if you can go through the internet or surfing the internet and find a blog that you like about whatever you think, maybe dinosaurs because you love them, or if you can use this tool to help yourself to get more knowledge about the world, that's enough. And if you like it, that's just the plus for me.
So it's doing more than just learning phrases and chunks of language and perfect grammar. It's building skills and finding real uses, right?
Absolutely.
Now, I think every teacher has these special moments where you're reminded, and like you said, it could be after a day, a month, a year, 10 years, 20, why we keep on coming back. It could be that moment when a student thanks you. A student might give you a handwritten card. Can you remember, or can you think of a moment that you hold very near to your heart?
I had this student. I was 24, 25 years. And this student was maybe 60 years in this language center. She was also a teacher. She was a biology teacher, I think. I was a baby teacher. So I wasn't expecting, or maybe I was not confident enough. So, but I could see that she liked my class a lot. And she had the confidence to approach me and ask for tips and questions. And So, and I always had an answer for her, or in case I didn't, I ask her like, okay, give me just one day and I'll give you an answer about this. So I was really engaged with her knowledge, with her process of learning. She's been sending me a happy Christmas message every year since then.
Oh, wow.
And it's I feel it's like a hug to the heart. You feel like it's really cute of hers that she's still thinking of me, and maybe we don't chat, maybe we don't have like regular conversations, but I can count on her Christmas wishes for me.
I bet you're expecting them too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
So
totally.
that's beautiful. Thank you
Thank you.
for sharing. And I think that's one of the main reasons we keep on coming back year after year,
course.
right? We have a couple of quick fire questions, meaning I will ask you some questions, respond with your gut feeling, don't overthink.
All right.
We'll try to keep this short, sweet, and fun.
Okay, perfect.
Now, I'm very curious. Do you prefer working with beginners or more advanced students?
I think advanced students, although I really like these beginner students starting their process and their adventures with English, I like advanced students to practice. I love when they are when you assign a task and they start discussing the topic completely in English.
Just like polishing and getting
Exactly.
them to work.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, if you had to choose one thing you couldn't live without in your classroom, what would that be?
My 24 color marker set.
Wow.
I love color. I love having a whiteboard full of colors, and I like my students to come to the board and write their answers to an exercise. And I like them when they get to the class to the whiteboard, and they keep like, which color should I use?
That sounds like something your students might recognize you by. You're the teacher, the colorful teacher. Do you have any specific word or favorite word in English?
Yeah, mesmerizing.
Lovely word too.
Yeah, it's
And
mesmerizing.
It's mesmerizing, exactly. And I do have one more for you.
Please.
Your favorite game or activity to play or use in the classroom?
There's this game I always play with, and no matter what the level is. Students are set in teams of 5, 6 students, and you take one member of each team out of the classroom, and you give them orally. You give them a sentence, and they have to memorize the sentence. And usually, I try to use sentences which apply the grammar rules we're checking, the vocabulary bank we're working with. So they go back to their teams. They make a line, and they start passing the message mouth to ear, student to student. So when the message gets to the first student, he or she has to go to the board and write the sentence correctly. And the team who does this first gets the point. Students always cheat. Students always scream. I try sometimes to play music on the background just to maybe they cannot recognize what the other team is doing. So yes, just to make them to make the game a little bit more challenging. But yes, they always like it because it's something they do standing up. They don't have to be sitting down taking notes. It's something that they have to do with their bodies and go to the board. It's something they actually enjoy and something that helps them to wake up sometimes.
To change the pace.
Yes, totally.
Teacher Victor, it was a great pleasure speaking to you.
Pleasure's mine.
I hope you also had a fun time, and I'm sure we'll take home something special. So thank you.
I did. Thank you.
Cambridge is where your world grows.